Greetings, everyone. This is Umby again, and we're back with some more VGC Draft League coverage. And we're going over the replays from my group for this week, or the past week, week number 4. Excuse me. It's been a long weekend, and we're just getting back, so we're a little bit late on these videos. This time, we only have 2 matchups to go over, as one of them got an extension. One of the players got caught up, I think, from the Knoxville Regional Rush as well. But either way, we're leading off with Ryu versus KeystoneRecords, and I think this is a huge advantage for Ryu's team. Just the pressure from Rain and Swift Swim against his team looks immense, and even anything that could potentially resist something like Wave Crash from Floatzel is at threat of getting KO'd by the Dragonite or the Pelipper. So namely the Tauros and the Arboliver, what you would use to resist water moves, they're just going to fall to the flying moves that Pelipper and Dragonite throw out. And as we've seen in previous weeks for Ryu, Dragonite's been a major player, picking up multiple KOs against the entire team. So there's got to be a priority on that, but there aren't even any strong dragon or ice type moves to put pressure on it immediately. So unless there's like a burn that goes into it from like Skeledirge, I think KeystoneRecords is going to be hard pressed to really deal with it, which means that he struggles against from any water damage that he takes, because he can't move in the Tauros or the Arboliva very efficiently. Potentially you could use something like Clodsire, since it has water absorb, and potentially stall out the opponents, apply poison somewhere, or get down like Curse Body Press to try and get some damage on the board and mitigate as much as possible. But it's still a very, very tough ask, because you're putting one Pokemon up against another 4, just watching the rest of them fall around you. Even something like Corviknight being in the mix to try and resist the Dragonite just ends up falling to Rotom Wash. And in general, even Floatzel with its Wave Crash boosted by the rain, it's going to be tough for Corviknight to just take that. Garganacl, possibly a little bit of hope there, but again, Dragonite is something it still has to address. And we've seen Ryu consistently bring Weakness Policy and Earthquake throughout the weeks. So unless it's carrying like Wide Guard, and even if it's carrying Wide Guard, just by using Salt Cure, if it is running that Weakness Policy and activating it, that just spells trouble for the rest of the team. It just seems like you put one potential counter in front of the Dragonite, the rest of the team just falls to whatever's next to the Dragonite. I think it's legitimately tough. We've sung some of the praises of KeystoneRecords' team and how bulky it can be and how it can address multiple matchups. But I think versus the onslaught of like Rain and Swift Swim, and Hurricane and Terra Blast Flying, I think that's it's going to be a really tough ask. But let's see how it plays out. Okay, in the left corner we have Ryu's team with Floatzel, Pelipper, Dragonite, Stonjourner, Rotom Wash, and Gardevoir, interesting enough. Whereas KeystoneRecords opted for Espeon this time around, with Umbreon, Tauros, Ampharos, Garganacl, and Corviknight to shore up their defenses. Very interested in seeing how this one plays out, so let's go ahead and get it started. Alright, leading off for KeystoneRecords is Espeon and Ampharos, possibly looking to set up some defensive position here. Meanwhile, Ryu, very strong lead with the Power Spot from Stonjourner and Dragonite, but the skill swap coming in from Espeon to take away that Power Spot, pretty interesting there. Tailwind going to be set up by the Dragonite. Not certain if it's going to play too much of an effect considering how slow KeystoneRecords' team is, but already off the bat, reducing the power through the skill swap to get rid of that Power Spot is a decent start. But the Earthquake is going to immediately pick up a KO on the Ampharos. It's still pretty strong regardless, right? Garganacl moving into position. It's going to Terra Water here, so not going to take super effective damage from the Earthquake, while it will be able to resist the Hydro Pump from the Pelipper if that comes out. Thunder Wave coming in from Umbreon onto the Dragonite, so that's going to be one way to cripple it and slow it down. It hasn't been touched yet, It's a common trend from the early game from these past few weeks here. Meanwhile, Iron Defense coming in from the Garganical, possibly setting up some body presses here. Hurricane coming in, trying to do some damage there and get some confusion down on the Garganical there. It's going to slow it down from putting up any more Iron Defenses here, but Stonejourner swapped out and has got its power spot back, so it's going to do some decent damage through the rock slide to both Pokemon, whereas Umbreon's going to opt to slow down the Pelipper through Snarl, which is going to do some. It's going to be a good effect to slow down the Hurricane from doing too much damage to Garganical since it's water type now, but unfortunately the confusion takes its toll and Garganical's unable to move. Gets taken down to 1% HP from the Hurricane here. Umbreon tosses out a Wish while Recover from Garganical coming in clutch there. Is just on the verge of death, but good EVs are good EVs. Alright, so now with the Pelipper crippled, Folsel comes in for Ryu. Rock Slide gonna KO the Umbreon here, so no more Snarls coming in on the back end of the game, but Garganical is in position with a +2 from the Iron Defense. Espeon comes back out, hoping to steal that power spot again with the skill swap, but Floatzel is too fast right now thanks to the Swift Swim. It's going to go ahead and pick up the KO easily onto Espeon thanks to the Wave Crash. Fortunately though, that's a little bit of a distraction away from the Garganical. Gets a ton of damage down onto the Floatzel thanks to that body press, +2. The Electric Terra Blast coming in from the Floatzel though. Cool option there. It almost worked out, but the +2 from the Iron Defense is gonna save Garganical's hide right now. Meanwhile, another +2 from the Iron Defense coming in from Garganical and may just be able to tie up this game. Rock Slides are gonna start to do very little damage. We're already reduced down to 10%. It's up to the flinches to try and save the game. Wing Attack, surprisingly doing 12% damage from this Dragonite here. Extreme Speed, still doing just around 10% damage. Rock Slide coming in from the Stonejourner. It's not going to get the flinch, and the damage is not enough to save it from the Recover coming in. So Garganical in prime position to make a thievery here to steal back this game. Rock Slide coming in, trying to get some more flinches here, trying to get some more chip damage wherever it can as Pelipper comes back in, resets the rain, hoping to get some significant damage down through the Hurricane, possibly get that confusion back, along with the Rock Slides, could slow down this Garganical who is trying to claw its way back. But these Hurricanes are really strong. These Rock Slides threatening the flinch is making it tough for the Garganical to survive. Another Hurricane bringing down 11%. The Recover coming back in, bringing back up to 61% and climbing thanks to the leftovers. This is a really tough end game. One flinch could spell disaster for KeystoneRecords, and he's trying to fight his way back valiantly. Another Recover coming in. There's got to be only so many Rock Slides that are left. If he can potentially stall out the rain, he may be in the clear. And a Rock Slide misses. That is crucial. Going down to 25% health, surely going to recover. That's it. It's back to 75% health. And we're still climbing thanks to the leftovers. Again, it's crucial that he survives this rain, because if you can get rid of that, these Hurricanes have a much higher potential chance to miss, and he's going to need that now that he's been confused. This time he opts for the Salt Cure instead. Now he's really going to need these misses to come through, but actually with rain, we now missed this earlier. This is definitely Damp Rock Pelipper, because the rain turns are lasting too long. Sorry about that, I missed that, but unable to weather the storm, no pun intended. Garganical almost in position to steal back the game thanks to the Iron Defenses, but Pelipper, especially with the Snarl gone from the Umbreon, able to clutch out the game for a game 1 win. Let's go ahead and move on to game number 2 here. Okay, another lead from Espeon and Umbreon, Sun and Moon duo. And we're going to see another return from Stonejourner, and this time we see Gardevoir coming out. Let's see what surprise it has in store. Surely we're expecting a skill swap to take away that power spot here. Nope, just going straight for the Shadow Ball to get some damage down onto the Gardevoir. Going to take some pain from the Rock Slide, though power is reduced a little bit thanks to the Intimidate from Tauros, but it doesn't matter. Moonblast into the Tauros immediately knocks it out. KeystoneRecords in another precarious situation here. It's now their damage mitigation versus like Dragonite is going to be cut down. Another Shadow Ball coming out from Espeon, hoping to clear out the KO on the Gardevoir, but it's swapped out into Pelipper, who sets up the rain. Iron Defense coming in from Garganacl can do so safely. Umbreon coming back in this time, trying to slow down the Pelipper once again through the use of Snarls. Takes the Hurricane just fine, only 27% damage. Where the Salt Cure comes out from the Garganacl, is almost KOs Pelipper with the residual damage. Ryu's going to opt to save that for a later day, maybe to reset the rain later on if they survive it. Wing Attack into the Umbreon, gets a critical hit, not quite enough to take it out, fortunately. Thunder Wave coming in to Dragonite to slow it down, though. Pair it with the Salt Cure, it's going to do some residual damage, but here's one of the things we talked about. It activates the weakness policy and puts the team in a really weird position, especially with the power spot from Stonjourner. Anything that Dragonite throws out is really going to hurt. Wing Attack, critical hit onto Umbreon to finish it off. I'm not sure if the critical hit mattered. Body Press into the Stonjourner with the +2. Going to do significant damage to the Stonjourner. If they can clear that out, they may have a shot here. Espeon coming in, hopefully to try and salvage the game. But the Stonjourner acts first here. Gets the Rock Slide off, misses the Espeon. But as a matter of Dragonite comes in and clears it out with the Wing Attack. It is incredibly strong right now. Garganacl is going to need those iron defenses to try and survive any damage it's putting out. But we find ourselves in the same position as last game, where Pelipper is set to do some significant damage, especially now that it's Terra flying. Did 47% with that Hurricane, and here comes the confusion, causing Garganacl to not move again. With the double up damage from Dragonite, that's going to secure it for Ryu with the Hurricane. They throw out an extreme speed just for good measure, make sure they can get the KO, make sure there's no damage range there, and that's the end of the battle. Congrats to Ryu, but shout outs to KeystoneRecords there. That was really well fought out match. Almost found the positions to try and claw their way back into the matchup, but unfortunately, on the special side, Pelipper is just doing way too much damage, and they didn't have the means to really keep the game in their favor without that Umbreon throwing out the Snarls to slow the Pelipper down. Either way, fun matchup. Congrats to Ryu, first and foremost. I know that's not first and foremost, but either way, congrats to Ryu for winning this matchup. Very well played. Dragonite still having a strong showing in this group. We've got to all respect it a little bit more and make sure we clear it out the way if we don't want it to run away with the game. All right, moving on to the next one. Moving on to our next matchup, we have Quaylectra versus L-Trim. And for this one, I think L-Trim could actually run away with the matchup with something very simple like Terra Fire Dondozo. I think it's really hard for Quaylectra's team to hit opposing fire types without the use of Palossand or Golduck. They haven't shown any use of Palossand, and Golduck we saw one time, but it's still rather frail and go down pretty quickly to like an order up once Dondozo is paired with Tatsugiri. You also have the Colossal as well, but it's going to need a significant power boost to get past Dondozo's bulk and the boost from Commander for even its rock type attacks to do significant damage once it's Terra Fire. But meanwhile, the Terra Fire helps you to resist Torkoal's damage naturally. And also, if they decide they want to use something like Spiritomb, helps you avoid the Will-O-Wisp. Now, that being said, from Quaylectra's side, Maushold with Super Fang is very valuable here to cut down on the health of Dondozo, and possibly like pair it with Scovillain to secure the damage that you need to take it down pretty quickly. Spiritomb also, even without Will-O-Wisp, you can use something like a Pain Split, since Dondozo's health pool is really large. So if you can survive that initial attack, you're in a good position to set up Trick Room, use Pain Split, and now Dondozo's at more of a health deficit, right? But yeah, I don't think there are any clear-cut answers for either side. Despite all I said about Dondozo, I'm curious as to what type of tricks Quaylectra has up their sleeve to try and secure the game. We know that Torkoal is a major player for most of the matchups, but not sure how well it'll do into something like Dondozo. So you gotta expect that they have a backup plan for dealing with it. You also still have to keep Talonflame in mind, who could taunt away the Oranguru from using like Trick Room if it's not carrying Mental Herb. Sylveon, if Torkoal's not in play, Sylveon could take advantage of the Trick Room for itself. Does very well into Spiritomb and takes attacks from Colossal and Raichu just fine if they ever show up. Um, but yeah, there's not too much to it like usual. Even some surprise things like Vivillon could come through just to get a Spore down. Perhaps use that instead of Taunt versus the Oranguru to prevent the Trick Room from going down. There are multiple ways that this matchup could go, so I'm excited to see what happens. So let's see what happens. All right, game number 1. All right, in the left corner, you see Quaylectra's team: Golduck, Torkoal, Maushold, Zoroark, Oranguru, and Colossal. With Eldrim in the right corner with Dondozo, Tatsugiri, Lumineon, Cloyster, Gothorita, and Sylveon. All right, so let's see how this one plays out. We did forget to mention the Gothorita as a potential strategy, but here they are showcasing it for us here. Gothorita is going to prevent Torkoal and Oranguru leading off from switching out, hopefully looking to lower the power of Torkoal through the use of Rain Dance from Lumineon. But interesting enough, we didn't see the Drought activate here, so that can only mean one thing about this Torkoal here. And we're about to see it soon, I am suspecting. Meanwhile, Oranguru has the Trick Room set up here. Psychic from Gothorita goes into the Torkoal, but it's immune to it, so we already know that was Zoroark hiding all along. It takes a bunch of pain from the Rain Boosted Surf from Lumineon, but not enough to get the KO. Meanwhile, Oranguru using After You so that Zoroark can get some last minute damage with Night Daze into the Gothorita. Lumineon is going to go ahead and close out the KO with Surf. It is hurting its own Gothorita, but it's not out for the count yet. Meanwhile, Torkoal coming in. It has got the sun out, the real Torkoal, and is under Trick Room, its favorite place to be. Gonna go for the Eruption with the Instruct for the double Eruption to go ahead and close out the KO on both Pokemon. So now, the initial strategy, which I like from the Eldrim, to trap the Torkoal in, set up the Rain so its power is reduced, is all for naught because of the counter preparation from Quaylectra. So it's up to Dondozo and Tatsugiri to try and salvage the game. Can it do that under Trick Room and end Sun? Potentially it can do it because Trick Room's about to end and Golduck has come in with the Cloud 9 to clear out the Sun either way. We see Clear Smog on the Torkoal here as a way for countering the Dondozo. It launches a Wave Crash into the Torkoal, hoping to get a quick knockout. Golduck gonna use Psych Up to copy the stat changes from the Commander boost here. Torkoal switching out to Oranguru, gonna save that for later, and we see Clear Smog from Golduck doing just the same thing. So lots of prep to counteract this Dondozo here from two whole Pokemon. Oranguru goes down, but it's gonna save some pain from Torkoal, hopefully coming into these last turns. But meanwhile, Golduck in prime position, gonna do decent chunk, 30% damage with the Power Gem here. Not the best, but not the worst. Wave Crash is gonna help add on to the damage that Dondozo is taking here with the recoil damage. Torkoal's only recourse is really to use the Solar Beam. It's gonna take 2 turns, but that just means that the Dondozo has to target it to make sure it doesn't take a bunch of damage here. The Power Gem though, still chipping away. 30% damage is definitely outpacing the leftovers right now. And meanwhile, the Dondozo is not going to be able to do too much damage if it can act towards the Golduck thanks to that Psych Up and the use of Clear Smog. It's going to go for a double protect here to try and get more leftovers recovery, but it's not enough, or rather it doesn't go off to try and get that recovery, and it goes down to the next Power Gem. Tatsugiri is going to need a miracle to salvage the game. Power Gem, 76% damage to the Tatsugiri. It's going to need a crit from these Terra Blasts, but it doesn't get it. And that's going to be the end of the game 1 with Power Gem closing it out. So really cool technical options for these players here. We saw the Gothorita coming in along with the Lumineon as a way for dealing with the Torkoal leads that Quaylectra typically comes in with. But the immediate counteraction with the Zoroark to trip them up and save Torkoal for later was really smart. I'm not sure who tipped them off, who gave them the secret sauce, but the preparation from Quaylectra's side is looking pristine right now. Eldrim still looking really prepped with the way that they led the Gothorita as well, just unfortunately Quaylectra just a step ahead of them. Eltram's going to need some significant adjustments going into game number 2, which we'll play right now. Okay, Gothorita makes its appearance once again. It does seem to be an answer for appropriately dealing with the initial setup from Quaylectra. They're going to lead Sylveon this time, though, expecting that the Zoroark might still be trying to come in. So Hyper Voice gonna do significant damage here, and that is Zoroark hiding behind there. We take it down to Sash with the Hyper Voice. Now the Fake Out went to Oranguru, but it does hold on to Inner Focus, so it's not going to get flinched by that Fake Out, unfortunately, for Eltram here. But Hyper Voice under Trick Room is going to take out the Zoroark before it can act. Meanwhile, Gothorita with the Trick Room to reset Oranguru's Trick Room now puts Eltram in a really good position right now. Hyper Voice coming in for Oranguru is actually going to go ahead and take it out and do a ton to Golduck, who actually is moving slower. So it takes a ton of pain before it's going to get KO'd before it can even act here. They're just free to fire off another Hyper Voice, clear out Golduck, and it's all down to this Torkoal, who has to Terra Fire. There's nothing really else it can do. Tries to use Eruption, but without Trick Room, it's not going to be able to preserve its health and get the strength that it needs to get the damage down. So yeah, that's going to wrap up game number 2. Really, really good adjustment, recognizing that the Zoroark was a little bit of an issue. And even with Gothorita, it's still able to reposition its own its own Sylveon before if the actual Torkoal does show up, and try and play from there. But yeah, recognizing the Zoroark could possibly be leading, just using the Hyper Voice to scout it out and potentially take it out. Unfortunately, it did have Sash, so it did take 2 turns, but the use of Trick Room from Oranguru actually helped the Sylveon along with that following turn, so it could get the damage down before the Zoroark acts, and then it resets the Trick Room for the following turn. It's a really nice flow there. Alright, so game number 3 is looking to be a really exciting game based on the way that both players have prepped and are playing. So let's go ahead and get it started. Gothorita still looking like it's the answer for Eltram's side, and going to lead Sylveon one more time. Get that spread damage down, scout out the Zoroark. Doesn't mind if Torkoal is in the driver's seat. They can always reposition it later. Alright, so Fake Out going into the mouse hole this time. Oranguru is suspiciously using Flamethrower, which again can only mean one thing. That is Zoroark being taken down to Sash now by the Hyper Voice. However, here's a really cool adjustment from Quaylectra. This Population Bomb to take out the Sylveon. Recognize that was a particular threat the way that it led the last game, and gets to take it out immediately. So it saves itself from further damage from the Hyper Voices here, but it's not going to save it from getting knocked out by the mouse hole from getting knocked out by the Psychic. Oranguru comes back in, no doubt ready to set up the Trick Room for the Torkoal to come in just a little bit. Meanwhile, Dondozo positions for Eltram's side here. Order Up coming in from Dondozo. Doesn't have the Tatsugiri, so it's not going to do too much damage, but it helps reserve its health, so it's not taking any recoil damage here. Colossal coming in here, using Terra Grass, trying to resist the Wave Crashers coming in. So if the Wave Crash did come in, it might activate the Steam Engine if it's using it. It could be using another ability. That's definitely a possibility. Meanwhile, Gothorita gonna reset the Trick Room that Oranguru took set out. And hey, look, it is Terra Fire Dondozo. That's one of the things I mentioned, so I'm kind of proud of that. I'll just point that out. Tatsugiri comes in to give it the Commander boost and immediately takes out the Oranguru with the Wave Crash. So now it's down to Colossal to salvage the game. Use this Rock Slide ahead of the Dondozo, but it's not going to do too much. Meanwhile, Dondozo flexing the Avalanche onto the now Terra Grass Colossal. What an ending, what a series. There were a lot of different preparation options. Quite literally, I'm at a loss for words, because like this is a really cool set. Like, so much is going on, so many different moves that we don't see in a normal format coming out, including this Avalanche at the end. Really stoked about the Terra Fire, kind of hoping that they saw the same thing that I saw, where like, hey, you can resist the Torkoal with the Terra Fire while also resisting something like a Will-O-Wisp from Uh, I forgot what was on the squad already. A Will-O-Wisp from the Spiritomb. Thank you. Could not get that out. Which, to be honest, I wasn't paying attention to the trade, so this might actually be gone. So either way, it was a cool option for whatever they might throw out. It was also a good way to resist the solar beam from the Torkoal if the sun was still up and Trick Room was still up. So just overall a solid option either way. All right. I know I stumbled through this one and it was a little bit later than usual, but I appreciate you sticking out for me. Hopefully this was entertaining. We'll continue to do this throughout the week. We're actually going to do a video soon. I think I mentioned this last time that I want to take another look at the standings for our group and see how that matched up with my initial analysis of the drafts. That was going to come out this week, but I'm going to delay it until after week 5 and we'll go from there. Either way, if you don't mind, please leave a like and a comment. Don't even have to subscribe, and I will appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.